we're live.
You could have told us.
Were you not watching the timer? I was like, they better be watching the timer because I'm just gonna go.
Maybe.
Mm. Hi.
Hi.
This isn't awkward at all.
Busy talking about schnauzers and like, well, I have to like wait here. Anyway, so as usual, I think we need to make our guest do the intro for these podcasts, right? So
Yes.
surprise.
Hello, it's me, Moist Noodle. Hang on, which side is... Right, so this side is Maya, this side is Darge. Did I nail it?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Thanks.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right.
So, hello and welcome to the first episode of the year of Beyond the Frontier. This is our podcast featuring Dionator and myself and a guest where we talk about the guest. It's a Star Citizen podcast for those who didn't know or might not have guessed. And
Even though there's a logo, you know.
just over there somewhere above Moist. Yeah.
And there's our logo.
And we'd like to introduce, our logo is, introducing.
I am too constrained in here.
Yeah, it's a bit tight. It's very like, what is that Superman thing called again with the.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very much like that, but 3. But yeah,
there were 3 in there.
Were there?
Yeah, Zod and his 2 sidekicks.
All right, well, this makes perfect sense then.
Who's Zod? Who's General Zod among us?
The guy in the middle is I guess it makes sense, right? Because we're featuring.
And considering I have long hair, I'm the chick, and you're the stupid male sidekick.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. But welcome, Moist. Thanks for making it this evening under a very short notice. I think we asked you like yesterday or something if you wanted to come on.
2 days ago. It was 2 days ago.
Right. But yeah, welcome aboard. So
thank you.
I guess our first question for our guest is, who are you and what do you do?
That's
the next question is, who is your daddy and what does he do?
I knew you were going to do it.
Oh.
It's a matter of when.
Who's my daddy? The Dark Claw is my daddy. So my name is Moist Noodle. I used to primarily be a Star Citizen streamer, and while I still primarily stream Star Citizen, that's not necessarily why I'm here today. I think I'm here because I'm here representing JRDF, which is the fabrication company, design and fabrication company, who make the props and models for Star Citizen events, such as 2948's three-quarter size Dragonfly. It was quite big. And the 3 to 4 meter in length Kraken model, the Intel Sabre Raven from the year before, etc., etc. So, yes, that's me.
All right. And before we go into more JRDF stuff, let's talk about a bit more about yourself. So I guess, how did you come upon the name Moist Noodle? What's that about? I don't think I've ever asked you that question before.
It's the most boring story in the world, Maya. You probably
this is why you're here.
Like, if you ask somebody like The Few has this incredible story where he was in France, in Paris, as a teen boy, and he was in a bathroom for some reason and found this diary, etc., etc. And it's just like, it's a really interesting story. For me, not so much.
Okay.
I very quickly, so a friend of mine, I was playing Kerbal Space Program at the time, and a friend of mine was like, a friend of mine is streaming. He works for NASA. He's got like 5 people watching him. Go check him out. He's quite cool. So I was watching him, and I wanted to respond to something in chat. So I just very quickly needed to create an account. I was like, what should I call myself? And I was like, I'll just name myself after something on my desk. And in typical fashion, I always have a pot noodle on my desk. And I was just like, you know what? Moist Noodle. That'll do. That'll do. Even today, it's the same pot noodle.
Oh, man.
So yeah, that's where Moist Noodle comes from.
This sort of thing kind of strikes me as odd, because you're not the only person who has said, they needed to come up with a nickname in a very quick fashion. Like, have you not been on the internet for decades before that?
Yes. But so I didn't want the 13-year-old handle or when I say 13-year-old, I mean the handle that I made when I was 13 to be the one as my Twitch handle.
So it's XXX underscore something destroyer underscore XXX. Oh, right, okay.
Exactly. You got it. Nailed it.
That's fair enough. I think I did the same thing. Like when I was making a Star Citizen account, I was like, I need a new name. Yeah. So
it was quite funny because I never actually intended to stream. So I don't know why. I think it was more. I also wanted a name that kind of stood out a little bit in chat. And Americans, even British people, aren't super fond of the word moist.
I love the word moist.
I love the word moist. It's so good.
Because one, cakes are awesome and need to be moist to be awesome. And two, almost everybody hates the word moist, so I naturally love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I love to make other people uncomfortable.
Yep. So
which is why we made this podcast.
Yeah, exactly. So I can spread it. So I can spread to this, my awkwardness to as many people as I possibly can.
I love it.
Awesome.
I actually like to be awkward.
So, I mean, I guess as a Star Citizen content creator, then, I mean, like before, again, we move on to JRDF and all the meat of that stuff. So you said you didn't intend to be a streamer. So, like, what made you become one? I mean, like, you made the Twitch handle first, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, so I'd had the account for a while, but I've been a member of the community since the Kickstarter, essentially. Like, I backed a little bit later. But I've been here since the beginning, and I've always been a lurker. And I think the first person that I watched streaming Star Citizen, I think was Saurus, WTFosaurus. Then obviously I found Baron. Maya, you were actually one of the very first people that I watched on Twitch streaming Star
Tell me
Citizen
more
as
about
well.
that.
Well, he came across as very professional. It was great.
Right. So you'd say I'm your inspiration for streaming, then? Is that it?
Absolutely. Without you, Maya, I couldn't have ended up working for JRDF.
If only I knew Maya likes his ego fluffed so much.
Just call me the fluffer. That'll be my name for the rest of the day. It's fine. But yeah, I was very much a lurker, and I still am very much a lurker. I tend to watch a lot more than I actually chat. But there was a period where I was doing quite well at work, and I wanted to kind of share the love a little bit. So I spent, a few months gifting subs and dropping donations, and I didn't really still at that point talk that much. But then people started talking to me in chat, thanking me for the gifted subs and stuff like that. So I was like, I'll get to know people. And then I made quite a few friends in the community. And I was just chatting to somebody on Discord, and they were like, "Oh, just if you're bored, just stream Star Citizen. You'll end up with people to talk to." So I did, and I think I was streaming half hour, and then Saurus
30-minute streams. Oh wow!
Yeah. He raided me, dropped 250 people on me, and I was like, "Oh shit!" Now I have to kind of be entertaining, which is quite difficult. And it just kind of went from there, and ever since that first stream, there have always been people in my chat, and it was something I was thinking about before the stream started. I am very introverted, incredibly introverted. So
welcome to the club.
I've never been somebody like I used to work at nightclubs and stuff like that. So I used to spend a lot of time with extroverted people, but it's never where I really felt comfortable. So to me, I learned very quickly that Twitch was a great way for me to have social interaction in a way that I actually generally felt comfortable. And another thing that I learned was the Star Citizen community is one of the friendliest, most welcoming communities that I think I've ever come across online. So yeah, it was kind of super easy to go from there, really.
That's awesome. I mean, that's a pretty amazing like start to streaming in general. I mean, like,
Oh yeah, really.
yeah. I mean, I remember the first time that you were on my channel. Like, I don't think I knew you streamed just then. I think maybe you hosted me, and then you were like,
Yeah.
"Oh, by the way, here's a tonk to give to your channel." I was like, "What?
Oh yeah, I remember.
Who is this guy?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just like, I think making other people happy makes me happy. And I was in a position where, again, I was doing well at work and I had a little bit of money. I was like, you know what, I want to make other people happy. And me giving things like tonks to a stream, because that was when the tonk had just come out, I think. So
It was,
giving something to the streamer to give away makes them happy. And then other people winning those prizes makes them happy. So,
I mean,
yeah,
full disclosure, I would have rather kept
easy.
it.
well, do you not have a tonk? I don't have a tonk, to be honest.
No.
I mean, I don't want any ships. To
I
be
don't
fair.
even know a Tonka toy.
What the heck's a Tonka toy?
You don't know what Tonka toy is?
No. What's that?
We're going to have to educate you, Maya. Don't worry. Let's get on with the podcast. I'll
Yes.
show you my Tonka toy later.
Okay. All right. No, just pen that down for later then. Tonka
Sure, but
toy.
make sure you stop the stream beforehand. You don't want to be banned for violating Twitch
that's-
terms of
yeah.
service.
For the best.
I see.
Well,
Right.
He is the moist fluffer after all.
That's my name, Moist Fluffer.
So, JRDF. Okay, moving swiftly on. JRDF. What is So, tell us, how did that happen? Like,
God.
yeah.
I love how. Oh, damn it! I love how my face froze just as I was, pulling a face, and it's like. But let's go on. I mean, because Discord will do as Discord does.
So are you asking like how JRDF came to be, or how I ended up joining?
Oh, we already had
JRDF?
JR on the podcast, so we know all
Okay.
about that.
So, how did your involvement start with
Yes.
JRDF? I guess is the question.
So, CitizenCon last year, CitizenCon,
Okay.
the first con I had ever really been to. I'd never been to any sort of gaming event, no Comic Con, nothing like that. And little bit of madness. Miserable G said, "You have to come to CitizenCon." Miserable G lived just down the road from me in Cardiff. I lived in Newport, so it's like a 20-minute drive. And Miz said, "I will pick you up on the way." So it's like, fine, sounds great. I wasn't supposed to be involved in CitizenCon, but as Maya knows, on the day, all the streamers ended up being involved.
Oh, yeah.
But it turned out to be such an incredible day and a great experience. And if you're from the UK, if you're from Europe, from wherever, hell, the few came over from New York for CitizenCon, I would absolutely recommend going to CitizenCon or to any Star Citizen event because everyone is just so friendly and lovely. But while I was there, obviously JRDF were there, and I saw JR through the crowd, and I was like, "That's a very attractive looking man." And then I met Callie later on in the day, and Callie was just so genuinely lovely. And I think
you realized that you had no chance.
I ended up, I think me and Carl's actually ended up in a taxi together later on in the evening, and I grabbed us an Uber. And we just got chatting, and that was kind of like initially where I met JR and Callie. And then from there, I can't really remember how me and Callie got talking so much, but I was in a job that I didn't necessarily enjoy too much. I was essentially working, the charity that I was working for is fantastic. I just think the job itself I found really bland and boring. And, I was talking to Callie every day, and I was coming to visit. I was coming up to Scotland every few weeks. And at this point, JRDF was kind of spooling up, getting ready for CitizenCon 2948. So they were working on the Kraken, they were working on the Dragonfly. And I said, look, I don't have much experience when it comes to painting or CAD work or anything really, but if you want a pair of hands, I can come and lift things and make coffee. So yeah, I started coming up every couple of weeks, and it was just such a great experience. Like, don't get me wrong,
It's a bit of a journey, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. 6 weeks was the time frame that JR and Callie had from starting the Kraken and the Dragonfly to actually having them ready to ship to CitizenCon. It was a very, very tight time frame. It was incredibly stressful, but such...
I'm guessing 20-hour days with no breaks.
Unfortunately, I wasn't here because obviously I had my job, and I used all of my holidays at work to come and spend up here just helping in the ways that I could. But in the end, I wasn't here in the last week. And yeah, the guys were awake for like 2 days straight, sometimes just trying to get... Because JRDF, Callie and JR's... They're very much like CIG in that they try to do things that other people can't do. And when you look at the Dragonfly, for example, both myself and Callie individually had arguments with people because I was stood next to Dragonfly and there was a group of people and they didn't realize that I was part of JRDF, even though I had the t-shirt on. Right. And this guy said to his friends, "Oh, this is aluminium." And I said, "Oh, sorry, no, this isn't aluminium. This is furniture grade birch plywood." And he said, "Oh no, I'm an engineer. This is aluminium." I said, "No, let me show you." And the engines, you can pull the front off them. And I pulled the front off. I said, "Again, it's birch furniture grade ply." And he said, "Oh, you work for the company?" I was like, "Yes, I do."
Yes, I have the shirt.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like building something to that level of detail. Like JR and Callie are people that I have such a high amount of respect for, because one, that they can work under that sort of pressure, but two, they can build products to this quality. It's just mind-blowing. It really is mind-blowing. So after CitizenCon, I think we came up, basically John and Callie invited everybody up as a big thank you. We had a barbecue. It was so funny because as part of the barbecue, we burnt all of the scrap wood that we cut all of the pieces. And one of the parts was, what was it? It was part of the Dragonfly. It was one of the side pieces of the Dragonfly. And there was a picture of us throwing this piece on the bonfire, and that picture got out, and somebody thought we had burned the Dragonfly. It was just so funny. This is why you don't believe everything you see on the internet, everybody. But yes, when we were there, I think JR and Callie cracked a joke about me just moving in and kind of coming up to help out and learn skills. And I was like, I'd be up for that. So literally a few weeks later, I handed in my notice in my current job, and Callie and John drove 2 vans all the way from Scotland, packed all of my stuff into those vans, and then drove all the way back in one day.
Oh wow!
You know, and that was it. And since I've been here, it's been a really interesting journey. Because for me, it's a lot of new skills that I'm learning very quickly. I seem to be falling towards like CAD work is the thing that I think I'm enjoying the most at the moment.
What software do you use?
Right now, just SketchUp. That's all I'm using right now. I think SketchUp that's what we use to prep models for printing. But I think John tells me it's a good base to then go on and use other software. So, but yeah, that's currently.
It kind of depends, because 3D modeling has at least 2 major sort of approaches to it, and for production, I think it's more like parametric modeling, which SketchUp is kind of like more parametric than it is like pure polygon work, like let's say 3D Studio Max or Maya.
Yeah. Again, I've never used those softwares yet. But yeah,
I use Creo at work.
When I have a little bit more experience, then we can definitely have that conversation.
Our guy Darge is a pretty big CAD guy. He does that.
Yeah. Oh, awesome!
Well. Yeah.
Awesome. I use Creo at work.
Sweet.
So
We tend to use what CIG uses, because
CIG does not use parametric 3D modeling, so they don't have an actual physical product in mind when they do it. So.
Yeah, exactly, and that's something that we have to try and explain to people. So we very often we build bespoke props and furniture. So we have specific things like products that we sell, for example, the PC cases, the fridges, which are freaking awesome. But we also make bespoke products, and we will often get emails from people asking us if we can make them a 3D printed chip, because a lot of people have seen the 3D printed chips that were on the Kraken at CitizenCon.
Right.
And yes, we can do it, but there is a whole heap of work that has to go into prepping that model before it can be 3D printed. And a lot of people don't understand that, unfortunately. So from our standpoint, it's just about educating people about the amount of work that goes into it. So when people are asking for a price for these things, they understand why it costs what it costs.
Right.
You know, in the long term, it would be really nice if we could supply models for the public. I think that would be absolutely amazing. It's definitely something I think that we would like to aim towards. I think there's definitely a demand for it.
True,
from
but
the public.
For any sort of high production volume, you would need injection molding, and that in itself is a
for high
huge
production.
undertaking.
For high production, yes.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that
there may not be enough of a market for it. Yeah.
Exactly. And this is at the moment. If you look on the Star Citizen subreddit today, almost every other post is about 3D printing. It's insane.
It really is,
So I think today is a great day to actually have a chat about this. And I've seen a few people say, "Oh, I don't understand why CIG doesn't just approach Airfix, etc., or Revel." And there are two reasons for this. One is because 3D printing, using the SLA printers, we use Form 2s, the level of detail that comes off on the prints is incredible. And you would lose a lot of that detail with the molding. But at the same time, CIG could approach those companies, but I doubt very much those companies would be willing to actually produce models in the volume, because you have to think about when they do stuff for Star Trek, for Star Wars, for example, they're selling tens of thousands and creating tens of thousands of these things. Whereas realistically, you know, as much as I love the Star Citizen community, the demand right now just isn't there yet.
Right.
So yeah, for us, you know, we could have 5 Form 2s just cracking out parts of models. And we also have a fantastic guy who works for us called Crispy, who is great at molding.
So you got moist and you got crispy. You also have supple and burnt and raw.
Spongy. Don't forget spongy.
Well, spongy. We need to. That's just it. Maybe we should hire people by their names. We need to find spongy. But yeah, again, it's going forward is definitely something that I think we want to look into. And in fact, we have a couple of bits to show on the podcast.
We do indeed. I was going to ask you if you had anything you're currently working on, you know, like something that's not quite so NDA that we could share to the chat.
So there is a project that we're working on at the moment, which is NDA'd to the point that we can't even talk to devs about, which I find absolutely hilarious.
Who is the only one you can talk to about? Is it only Chris?
So there are a couple of people within CIG who have helped us with the project, but other than that, it was so funny because we were actually at Wilmslow a few weeks ago, and when I was there, I had DMs on Twitter from a few different devs saying, "Why are you here? Why are you at the office?" I was like, "I can't tell you anything. I'm sorry." However,
it's a very shifty eyes experience whenever Moist Noodles of JRDF comes
Yeah.
to your
Yeah.
office.
And we even had people coming up to us trying to bribe us, which was quite funny.
From the office. That's amazing.
Yeah. But we do have something that I can show. I don't know if you have a video or pictures there. I also have a little bit of show and tell. So essentially, we made the decision, and this isn't right now a product that we're selling to the public, but it may be something that we work towards.
Right.
But running up to CitizenCon, we had help from a lot of people at CIG trying to get the right models, trying to make sure that things like the textures that we had, just things down to like numbers and lettering, the right fonts were being used, the right colors. We couldn't have done all these things without a lot of individuals at CIG, so we wanted to thank them. So we decided to make them a little Christmas present. And myself, Callie, and JR to'd and fro'd about what we could make them for Christmas. And we kind of settled on the idea of the grey cat. So we decided to make, I think we ended up making 14 little grey cat models, put them on nice little plinths. We designed a whole load of labels to go on the boxes, such as UEE, customs stickers, Hurston Dynamics stickers, etc., etc. I want to buy one, says Phantom Killer. We'll see what happens. But it was a really nice little project. Obviously, it was done in our spare time when we weren't working on our current project. But seeing them all lined up was just such a cool thing. And I think they look great. So I actually have right here a slightly more updated version. So the ones that we sent out, again, it was a bit of a learning experience for us because some of the parts were incredibly thin, so we had to bulk them up quite a bit. So this is actually a next version from that, but this version of the Grey Cat even has rubber tires.
Oh, wow.
Which is really quite cool. Now, the ones that we sent, come on, focus. The ones that we sent out to CIG, didn't have the rubber tires, and they sat on the plinths because they were kind of glued into place, because they could stand on the wheels no problem, but it was just we didn't trust the wishbones that much, whereas these ones kind of do sit on the wheels without a problem. But an idea that we've been toing and froing, and seeing the conversations on Reddit over the last couple of days, it's made me feel a little bit more confident about the idea of potentially selling these as kits. So the big issue that we would have with selling them as completed models is the ones that we sent out to CIG were painted by Miserable G, and he did an incredible job. But it does, having them painted and built takes quite a lot of time, and salaries for a small business are very expensive. So having them built and then painted would add as quite a significant cost to the actual Grey Cats. So something that we were considering doing is approaching CIG and potentially asking for a license to sell these as a kit. So what you would end up with is what comes off the 3D printer. So this right here,
and massaged a bit to get rid of the sort of imperfections.
Well, no. So we would actually send out exactly what comes off. So
okay. So this, up to the person to do that.
Yeah, exactly. So because something, reading through all the Reddit posts, there are a lot of people, I think, who would actually be happy with prepping the model themselves. They just don't have the 3D printers. And a lot of people who do have 3D printers, they tend to have FDM printers, which, again, you don't quite have the level of quality as an SLA printer. So this is offering people at a realistic price to be able to have these models. And I think this is actually a really nice project for people who might have kids as well, because I've had a conversation with quite a few of my friends who build their models with their kids. And they're also trying to get their kids who are like 6, 7, 8 years old into Star Citizen, which at that age is quite difficult, right? But I think building models is a great way to do that. So like
I don't know.
for example,
I think Miles Eckhart is a very kid-friendly character.
you reckon?
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, a question that I'd like to pose to chat right now is how do you guys feel about the idea? So just as an example, this is a tire that's it literally came off the printer like a couple of hours ago and has just come out of post-processing. So you can see that it comes on the supports. And we do, I think, quite a good job of placing the supports in... Anybody that does 3D printing will know that placing the supports in the right part is incredibly important. If you place the support in the wrong place, it really screws you up. And it's a learning process for us because, bless her, Callie is the person who removes all of these supports on the models that we create. It's definitely something that takes patience.
So the process you use is not something like where the stresses can be dissolved in a solvent.
I don't think that's something that we have tried. It's something I'd have to ask JR about.
I've seen a couple of 3D printing techniques, but it's probably one that doesn't really offer the sort of detail that you're looking for, where they use one material for the actual model and another material for all the supports, and then you just chuck it into a solvent bath and the supports just melt away.
And that's the thing, like with this tire, for example, you can see that you can actually see the grip on the tire, and that is actually really the grip on the Grey Cat tire. And this thing is tiny, and again, you can see from here that
there's amazing detail. Yeah,
it is actually rubber.
Wow! Wait. So 3D printed rubber.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
is the chassis made from 3D printed metal?
No, but the thing that we were thinking of doing was actually printing these in white. So even if people don't really want to paint them themselves, they have the choice of actually having a plain white Grey Cat if they really want to. On this one, you could see, again, everybody please don't get excited because we don't have a license for this. This is just a conversation that's being had. But on this, you've got the whole of the windscreen is transparent. Now with transparency in 3D printing, there's no true transparency with 3D printing. It's just as close as, but the next version, essentially the frame of the windscreen would actually be built into the chassis or would be its own separate piece. And then what we would do, we would actually cast the windscreens. So the windscreens are actually transparent.
Transparent acrylic plastic. Yeah,
exactly. But yeah, the Grey Cat model, everybody. So
very nice.
If anybody does have an opinion on models being sold to the public or kits being sold to the public, whether you'd prefer kits or whether you prefer a full model, if you could drop me a DM on Twitch or on Discord, I'd really appreciate it. And also, another question that I have is, what would you expect to pay for a kit like this? Because that is something that can be quite difficult.
I'm gonna stay out of this one because the last time I bought an Airfix kit, my age was less than half of what I am right now. So I'm completely out of the loop.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that I think that there'll be a lot of people on both camps. There'll be some who are like super diehard, like I want to make this myself, I want to paint it myself, and that kind of thing. But they're gonna be a lot of other people, present company included, that want things, done for them. But of course, they'd have to pay a premium and that kind of thing as well. I'm thinking that maybe perhaps there could be like a limited run where you could like do it that way. Of course, they'd have to like pay the difference of it not being a kit and that kind of thing. But
of course, yes,
yeah. It's working out. Again, think about realistically how long it takes to paint something. Like I can show you a grey cat that didn't survive.
Okay.
I don't like necessarily showing off things that aren't, but this is one that was damaged in transit from Miserable G after he'd painted it. But pay attention to the little man. Now the little man is blue and his visor is painted, his gloves are painted. You can't really tell that well.
Right.
And also bear in mind this is the old original grey cat. But think how long it takes to paint something like this.
Right.
And that's why we're kind of leaning towards the idea of kits, but
Premium
potentially,
version.
Yeah, exactly. Potentially,
and
maybe
also
add building
every
and painting
grey
as a
cat is going
service.
to be unique.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
So-
if we can't have skinning in game yet, why not offer it to the public like this?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, by the way, this is so this is the seat and how the seat comes off with the stands. Hang on, let me show it like that.
That's
So
ridiculous, just how
there.
like crazy detailed every little piece of it is. I mean, like that's awesome.
And here is a little man as well.
A little man.
Oh,
Little man. Oh, there we go. So yeah.
that's tinier than the driver, or is
No,
it
this is
same
actually
scale?
I
Same
think this is
scale?
to the same scale. No, this is a slightly smaller scale than the driver. I think you can compare them side by side.
Yeah, that is a bit smaller. Yes.
I wouldn't be able to do any of that. I would require some adult supervision, for sure.
To give you an idea of how big the Kraken men were, so Callie actually has a picture of one of the boxmen, like down on his knees welding, that just sat on her little fingernail, which was insane.
Wow.
So speaking of the Kraken, I mean, like, so you've been working at JRDF officially for how long now?
Well, I've been here for, oh God, I actually don't know. All the days blur into one. Maybe 6-8 weeks now. I'm not too sure.
Okay,
like
so
that.
not too long, but you have been doing work for them and stuff previously, like with the Kraken and stuff, I guess. So
Again, when they were gearing up for CitizenCon, it was mostly me coming up, sanding, all the basic stuffs, because I'm having to learn a lot of new skills.
Yeah.
Again, I'm kind of leaning towards CAD more. But yeah, when I was like working on the Kraken, for example, it was just like full days of non-stop sanding, essentially. Because that thing was was pretty insane. That thing is entirely 3D carved.
It was amazing.
It was glorious. It was really cool. So can you give us like a... Sorry, go on.
Given more time, the Kraken would have been would have had a lot more detail. But again, it was built in, I think, 6 weeks, which is just...
I think
insane.
For any sort of future projects, you need to tell CIG to not consider you as a sort of rush job specialist.
Yeah, we'll let them know.
I think for CIG, it's more like they're not really too sure what they want to have until 6 weeks prior as well. It's kind of one of those things.
Yeah.
But so could you give us a day in the life of working in JRDF, I guess, now that you're there full time?
Right now, it's roll out of bed. Today, for example, roll out of bed, walk the dog. Then I came back, did some sort of admin-y type things, and then hopped onto SketchUp. I can't tell you exactly what I was working on in SketchUp, but I was chopping up a model into smaller pieces, and just get ready for the stream, really. And that's the thing. For me, trying to maintain my stream schedule as well. So typically we had, when I first moved up here, the discussion that I had with JR and Callie was the importance of maintaining my stream schedule, because it's obviously in JRDF's interest for me to continue streaming, because essentially it's a platform for me to be able to announce JRDF stuff to the Star Citizen community. So I stream from 5:30 every day, Monday to Friday. So yeah, it's about kind of splitting my day up, because if you try to work a full work day, by the time you stream, you're absolutely shattered.
Exactly.
And you can't, if you're tired and you're not having fun when you're streaming, then the people watching you aren't having fun either. So kind of what we kind of decided was, I work for 4 hours for JRDF each day, and then I do the stream stuff, and then typically I do a little bit of stuff after stream for JRDF as well. So yeah, that's my typical day really. But it is really weird how it's really difficult. You have to have a level of self-discipline, and that's the thing that I'm really struggling with.
Right.
Going from working for a company that is really, really structured, and you have certain tasks at certain times of the day, to sort of waking up and then trying to work out for that day what you have to do. Because every project that we do is different. So every single day is different, and it's definitely been a bit of a learning experience, really.
But you've managed to try at least somewhat balance your streaming schedule with your work schedule. I mean,
at first it was super, super difficult. I think a lot of people noticed I fell off the radar a little bit when I first moved up here. And I think that's because I was spending too much time. It was super, super easy to go down to the workshop or down to the office and just start working away. And then I'd look at my phone, and before I know it, it's 7, 8 p.m.
Yeah.
At which point it's too late for me to stream, really, because a lot of my audience is European or early morning America. And kind of once you miss that time slot, your regular time slot, it's hard to pull in newer people from the Twitch browse page, essentially.
Yeah.
So I was just like, well, it's too late now, so I just won't stream. So there was a period of a few weeks when I first moved up here where I didn't stream an awful lot, but now, yeah, I've kind of got that schedule under control again, and yeah, I'm streaming every day, Monday to Friday, and it's super tempting. Like I've had messages today saying, "Are you streaming today?" And it's super tempting to stream on the weekend as well when you're in the mood to do it. But the problem is, then if I stream on the weekend, then by the following week I'm kind of burned out. So yeah, I just try to have the downtime on the weekend.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
That's fair enough.
There's also, I think I noticed with the sort of both YouTube and Twitch, and the sort of immediate gratification sort of society that like you need to create, like you feel like you need to create content all the time, otherwise you're gonna lose the attention of your existing viewers. You're not gonna grab new viewers, and it's like so stressful.
Yeah, but nothing is worse than like a streamer who is like visibly just like burnt out and they're streaming.
And so like I'm gonna put my hands in the air now and be really, really honest. On Friday I was so tired, and the stream was going on, and I'm sure this happens to every streamer. To begin with, I'm not somebody that likes being told what to do, and I've been learning over the last week how to PvP like properly in Star Citizen. And while I don't like being told what to do, I am somebody that will ask for advice. And on Friday, I had quite a few people coming in who were being a little bit, they were telling me what to do, which normally I'm an extremely patient person, but I was quite tired. And I think it was visible on Friday that I wasn't really enjoying myself that much. Right. And again, music, a lot of people know that I like to play music when I stream, which is a bit of a weird sticky point on Twitch at the moment, because music is something that really motivates me. And again, I don't think I had music playing, or I think I was only playing Star Citizen music that day because I'm trying to get better at not playing sort of pop
Copyrighted
music and
music.
stuff like that. Yeah, I think it was
copyrighted
disco.
stuff.
I think it was disco, and like the disco music that was playing was a little bit more chilled, and it just wasn't really motivating me. And I think
I thought you had Disco Lando in your ear.
no, sorry, not
just singing
poetry. Yeah,
and I think,
singing. Yeah,
yeah. I think like a few people kind of like Phantom Killer just made the joke in chat alto, and it wasn't necessarily the faults of the individuals, but like I'm going to use Phantom Killer as the example because I'm close friends with Phantom Killer, and when I say this, he's going to know that I'm not picking at him. But he came in multiple times through the stream and kept making the Alt-O joke, which is, I think that's the button for, because I use HOTAS, so I don't use my keyboard, so I think it's the button for
I don't know that one.
What's it called? Oh, somebody remind me in chat. That's fine. Like normally I have the patience. I'm just like I laugh it off, etc. But because I was tired, multiple people cracking these jokes all the way through the stream just grind me down. And by the end, I was just like, guys, just please stop, stop. And it like after that stream, I was like, it really reminded me the importance of, while you're trying to maintain that consistent stream schedule, if you're not feeling it that day, just don't do it, because you just end up feeling like crap afterwards, and it just doesn't make for a good stream. And yeah, again, I apologize to anybody that may have been there on Friday and may not have had a good time. But it's all part of the learning experience, I guess. You know.
So for those who are wondering in chat, Alt-O is ESP. Apparently.
Thank you. And I am getting better at turning ESP on and off. Before this stream, I just very quickly hopped into the PTU for like 15 minutes, and
just try not to get too used to it, because end of March is when some good things come this way.
Yeah.
So we have a question in chat from Tobitij, who asks, how much do you love your Warthog now? I'm supposing you're using your sticks, right? So you're using the Warthog.
So I'm using a Thrustmaster Warthog HOTAS. Now, anybody that has one of these sticks, as in just the joystick part of it, or has tried one, will know that the stock joystick is incredibly stiff. No jokes. And the problem that I was having with it was that
I'm doing my best to hold back.
So the issue that I found I was having with it was, as you're kind of moving the joystick across to track a pip, when you hit that notch in the middle that holds or recenters the stick, it was throwing my aim off like crazy. Like I'd literally hit the pip and hit the notch, and then you'd see me like just pull away from the pip. So I made the decision that I wanted to modify my Warthog. So I took it apart on stream, and I kind of got an idea of how it worked, and then put it back together. And then I watched a few videos of it, and then the next day, there's basically one big thick spring in the middle of it, and then 4 small ones which kind of counter each other to center the stick. No jokes. So I asked JR to modify the main spring for me and cut it down and made it a little bit shorter. And then I created 4 smaller springs, and now the notch in the middle is almost non-existent. It's there, you can feel it as you cross it, and the 6 stick centers. But it's just so perfect now. And literally the first time I tried using the stick after I got it how I considered to be perfect, my aim just became so much better. But the funny thing was, you know, I see people getting a lot of grief for using ESP. Now, ESP in the game right now is not working as it's intended to be. CIG have said that. It's going to change. And for those that don't know, the way it's working at the moment is, the way it's supposed to work is it's supposed to, Redlier describes it in such a good way, and I always forget the words that he uses, but essentially it's kind of slows down the stick movement the closer to the pip you are.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
It reduces the sensitivity.
Thank you. It dampens the input from the stick the closer to the pip you are.
Okay.
Whereas right now what ESP is doing is when you're within a certain range of the pip, it's pulling your crosshairs into it. And the problem with that...
Which is especially noticeable, like even if you don't use a joystick, like you target something and let go.
Yeah.
And your ship will follow them.
Yeah.
Like,
and the problem with that is that when you're kind of jousting
that's auto-aim.
a little bit... Yeah, exactly. And when you're jousting with somebody, all that happens is that it pulls your ship into them. And people keep accusing me of intentionally crashing into them. I'm like, I'm not intentionally crashing into you. I promise it's ESP. But when I first started using the sticks, I wasn't using ESP at all because I see so many people criticizing people for using ESP as if it's a bad thing. And then somebody came into my chat, and I apologize, I can't remember the person who said it, but I mentioned Jolly as an example, and he said, you do realize that, because Jolly is a fantastic PvPer for anybody that knows or doesn't know him.
Okay.
And somebody said, you do realize that Jolly uses ESP. I put my hands, I was just like, what? That has blown my mind. I just assumed that he wouldn't. And then I had the conversation with Jolly, and he said, and because I had got to a point where I was hitting targets probably 60% of the time when I was firing without ESP. And he said, dude, if you can hit a target 60% of the time with ESP turned off, think of what you could do with ESP turned on. So I turned on ESP, and I think I'm hitting targets like 80% of the time now.
That's pretty cool.
You know, which makes such a huge difference. So
remind me not to get on your bad side.
I'm not saying that I'm a great PvPer. I actually went into...
You're just an accurate PvPer.
I'm getting better. That like I still struggle with the smaller ships like arrows and gladiuses, like they're buzzy little flies.
Yeah.
But I actually went down to Jump Town on Friday, and there were I was on my own, and there were a whole load of ships. I think there was like 6 or 7 ships at Jump Town. So having played EVE Online for many years, I have learned to prioritize targets. And I saw that there was somebody in a Sabre, and out of all the ships that was there, it was like Cutlass Blacks, Freelancers, and this Sabre. And I was like, the Sabre is the only one that I would have problems with. Cutlass Blacks, sorry, Cutlass Black pilots, sorry, Freelancer pilots, you're easy. I just turn you into sausages and you fall to the ground. Thanks to Dark Law for that. But yeah, so I went for this Sabre, but so the Sabre is, and I fly a Sabre, and the Sabre is great at side strafing, but it's also great in terms of stealthiness. So I can actually get within about 900 meters of a ship before they even realize that I'm there. Like my marker won't even show up unless they're pinging for me. So if I get the initial alpha, I normally win. But the way that you do that is by turning some of your systems offline.
Yeah.
And when you're coming down to Jump Town, you turn your engines off and just fall.
And just glide. Yeah,
and glide.
Well,
but you also...
right now you would fall, but in 3.4 you would glide.
In 3.5,
3.5, sorry, 3.5.
But you also shut your shields off. So I was gliding down, and I glided down on top of this guy, and then I was like, oh crap, now he knows I'm here, and I have no shields. So I opened up on him, and I lost that fight. Now, to be fair, I'm pretty sure I would have lost that fight even if I'd had shields, because he was very good. He was very good. And it reminded me that I am not a good PvPer. When I'm taking out ships that are larger than me, yeah, fine. But ships my own size and smaller right now, I'm still not a very good PvPer.
They
but
punch above their weight class, yeah.
The thing that actually made me blush on stream was the guy posted in local saying, I'm just paraphrasing, but and I apologize for the swearing in advance. It's not a super bad word, I promise you. But he said, "Take that, you blue-haired twat."
That is amazing.
Felt myself blush.
And this is a really good anecdote for everyone that says that, you know, buying the bigger, more expensive ship is sort of a pay to win path, you know, or scenario, because you know, no, in PvP it's the smaller, more nimbler ships that will, you know, wreck your face.
Yeah, I got wrecked in my Sabre by an arrow earlier.
Wow.
You know, I just could not hit him. He was so fast. So yeah, the Phantom Killer said arrows rock my glaive sometimes in chat. The arrow is so good. I love that ship. I need to learn how to fly the arrow. And again, something else that I see people saying a lot. I was actually playing with Zocli last night while he was streaming, and Zocli said the words that I said last week, which were a lot of the ships in terms of the same class handle the same. They feel the same. And I said that last week to Little Bit Madness. He said, no, when you really learn how to fly a ship, you'll find that they don't. And I know it's changing anyway with the new flight model.
Exactly.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Only because the maneuvering thrusters are so overpowered right now, and when we get the new flight model, it's going to be...
Well, even with the current flight model, I have flown the Sabre for that... I've flown the Sabre that much now that I
proper
tried
Sabre, not a
flying...
Raven.
I tried flying a Super Hornet. Sorry, just the stock standard Sabre.
Sabre, yeah. Right. So the actual fighter, not the not the EM ship. Yeah.
So I tried flying the Super Hornet. I think it was yesterday or the day before. I cannot fight in the Super Hornet because it's a completely different
experience
fighting style. So yeah,
it's so much more sluggish when it comes to strafing. And the Sabre just, you know, feels like it's a fly.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to 3.5 and the new flight model, because that is going to make all these ships have even more character.
Yes.
And the
really
Sabre, I think the way that we fight with the Sabre right now will be completely different, because all you do with the Sabre right now is side strafe. There's a lot more to it, but it's mostly side strafing. Whereas I think with the new flight model, it's actually going to be moving the Sabre more towards how it's described to be, which is boom and zoom, right? So you sneak in, you kind of use the stealth of the Sabre, you get that alpha strike, and then you go. But yeah, I'm really enjoying the game right now. I don't know if you can tell.
Yeah, I just realized that you have, as far as being part of JRDF, you have a lot of, I guess, perks when it comes to things like customizations with your joysticks and stuff. Like, it clicked a while ago, and I was like, I am so goddamn jealous. But, like, even your stream setup, like, could you, like, tell us more about, like, your stream setup behind you? Like, what are those, like, the screens?
For those of you who do watch my stream, before I even moved here, I think my plan was always I wanted to try and recreate a Grim Hex vibe as much as possible. And when I moved up here, JR and Callie were like, well, let's build Grim Hex. So I was just like, okay. Now,
how awesome are they? God damn.
They are really cool people.
Yeah, they're super, super cool. So we haven't actually started yet, believe it or not.
So just because
we are working. We actually haven't, because we're so busy with other projects right now. Obviously, any projects for CIG take precedent. Like, that's what we work on.
Right.
But what I have behind me, these are actually the CitizenCon wing command units.
They?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So essentially, you can't see it right now, but there are holes in the front of it from where the mounts for the joysticks and the keyboards go, which are actually covered over with like warning electricity stickers and stuff like that.
Right.
But we're talking with CitizenCon at the moment about making them new units, because JR has learned an incredible amount since he built these about 3D carving. So I think these are probably going to stay in here for the time being, and then we're going to make them new ones, I think, or we'll make new ones for in here and then send these to CitizenCon, whichever CitizenCon want. But what we're going to do in the meantime, while we're super busy, is just put up a faux wall immediately behind the units, so you can't see the windows. There's a 40-inch TV that's going up portrait, and that's going to have the animated like Grim Hex, like you see on the screen at Grim Hex.
That is quite an ostentatious piece just to have Grim Hex displayed on stream behind you.
Are they looking to adopt any adults in the near future? Do you know?
They've already adopted one child, so maybe I don't know.
Would you like a sibling?
If you are building like a proper Grim Hex, where are you getting the drugged up clothes salesman from?
Yeah, we'll talk about that after that. But yeah, I think the long-term plan with the Grim Hex build is that we'll be taking elements from different parts of Grim Hex. Mm-hmm. So the walls, for example, we're going to make modular walls that we can put in here, but we can also take to events like CitizenCon with us. By the way, these consoles behind me, not only have they been to CitizenCon, they've been to Pariverse and Con 42, which is another reason that we're going to be building new ones, because these have been battered in transit a little bit.
A bit scuffed, are they?
Exactly. But the modular walls, for example, we can't build... The walls actually in Grim Hex are modular. The models are modular to begin with, but we can't build those exact walls because those exact walls are actually about 10 foot high, maybe 12 foot high, whereas this room is 8 foot. So we're going to have to modify them slightly. But one of the things, and
sorry for being a like a peasant European here, but what's a foot?
12 inches, I think, something like that.
What's an inch? Speak metric.
Sorry. Yeah, I just know that John is probably downstairs listening and just cringing that I'm not using millimeters. Sorry.
Yes, millimeters. This is from one CAD person to another. Please use millimeters.
Learning to use millimeters is definitely something that has opened my eyes, Sarge, I promise you. I digress. But one of the things that I think both of you would love, and every streamer that I've mentioned this to has loved the idea of, is we're going to be putting Grim Hex bunk beds in here as well. So if
so we can log out.
Yep, so you can log out. Because we're very friendly with a lot of developers now from CIG, but we're also very friendly with lots of streamers. So one of the things that we really love the idea of doing is a project that JR has. We have a pool room here, and JR has an American-sized pool table, and he bought it with the dream of turning it into the pool table from the 600i. So one of the things that we want to do is cam up the pool room and essentially have really chilled out streams with devs and streamers. So essentially they can come up, people can watch just devs and streamers, not necessarily even talking about Star
with a
Citizen.
little TV with a chair, with the 2 chairs that are right in front of the pool room, or just the pool room that's behind the glass.
We'll see. We haven't really talked about the pool room an awful lot, because turning a mechanical pool table like that into the one from the 600i is actually going to be really, really tricky. Right. Really tricky. And that is a long-term project. But in the meantime, it'll just be the standard American pool table. But yeah, we like the idea of inviting up devs or streamers just to kind of chill, shoot the breeze, and not necessarily even talk about Star Citizen. So maybe just see people in their downtime, and then they can sleep in Grim Hex, which I think will be just awesome.
That sounds awesome. It's like you're not just making a set, which is what I thought. With the models behind you, it sounds like you're making an actual Star Citizen kind of like Wonderland to invite people. That's
essentially
something else.
Essentially,
a theme park.
Initially it will just be the set, so we are just going to put up a faux wall behind these units, and that'll be it. But eventually, long term, then it will turn into Grim Hex, is what we're kind
come
of
to Scotland to see the Star Citizen theme park from JRDF. That's ridiculous. That's so awesome.
Yeah, really. Yeah, you guys are welcome up anytime.
So those,
I think, Meyer, that next time I'm in England, we do need to take, for CitizenCon, is the next one in England is going to be...
It should be in England this year. It should be this year if the cycle is the same.
All right, sure. Then I'll take a maybe a week longer vacation, drive up to England and then visit
Right.
JR. Yeah.
All the way in Scotland. That's a bit of a drive and a ferry, right?
Dude,
If CitizenCon is in the
a
UK
bit of a
this year-
drive from where I am to Manchester, or where it's going to be, is driving from there to Scotland is nothing.
It's actually
in
not far.
comparison.
We're on this. We're not that far north of the border, so I think it's like 3 hours from Manchester to drive, something like that. Maybe
Sure,
4.
because it's
not.
16 hours to get to Manchester. 3 hours is nothing.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
All right then. All right.
But I have a funny feeling if CitizenCon is in the UK this year, there's going to be a bit of a party at the JRDF house.
We're definitely doing it. Yeah.
That has to be. So
and that means I'm gonna have to sticker up my car to look like. Actually, I'm gonna think about that. M50, no, I don't like it that
What
much.
car is it? Is it a Volvo?
It's an Audi A5.
Okay. So
It's sleek. It's very Origin in sort of its design. So
maybe a 300.
100.
Maybe a 300i once we get more.
Yeah.
So in 3.5 we are getting the is it 3.5 or 3.6?
3.5 is 300i. I'm pretty sure.
If it's 3.5, we'll have the customizer. We'll have all the new skins that are planning for it. Maybe we'll get something like that going.
Or maybe a 5-seater 85X kind of deal, maybe.
I'd love to see a 5-seater in game. That'd be so good.
It's actually not a 5-seater. It's a 2+2.
Oh.
Okay.
Because there's not enough room for 3 people in the back.
So moving back to JRDF and
Yes,
stuff. So,
let's digression.
Making and fabricating these things for conventions aren't the only thing you do. I believe that sometime last year you guys also started doing more commercial things. Are you able to talk about that?
As in like the PC cases, etc.
PC cases, I believe you did desks and stuff as well.
So we essentially, the crates that you carry around in game at the moment, we make those in the shape of PC crates, and the fridges are incredible. They even have the touch screen on the top. If anybody wants to buy, if anybody wants to buy those types of crates, then we're happy to sell those as well.
It's the half by half Peter crates, right?
Yes, but the desks that we're seeing on screen at the moment, those were the desks that we created specifically for Gamescom for CIG. I can't remember how many there were. I wasn't actually with JRDF at this point.
So you can count them there. There were 5, including the big one at the back.
Wait, hang on. Were you at that Gamescom, Maya?
He was.
I was indeed. Yes.
I was just gonna say, from the people on this podcast, Mar had the most dealings with our desks, so he can talk about it.
I think so. But the desks, the desks are incredible. We're trying to work out. So one of the issues that we have at the moment with things like the desks is the licensing. So, for example, if somebody wants a bespoke paint job, Chewy, lay down. Sorry, I got a whingy doggy. If somebody wants a bespoke paint job, it has to come under its own separate license because it's its own separate product. And if there are modifications to it, it takes longer to create that product because we're having to do R&D and we have to go through several iterations. Most of our products as well have screens in, which means the software has to be developed for that, which again, it takes time. Bearing in mind that the people who do a lot of this stuff for us also have full-time jobs as well, so they're doing it in their spare time. So we have a desk here at the moment that's taken us a little while to get out. We're just waiting on the software for it so we can actually get it out the door. It's an Aegis themed desk and it is beautiful. I'm praying. I'm stuck praying. But it is absolutely
and
beautiful.
You can't show it to us.
Unfortunately not until it's actually at the door and our customer.
Can you tell us who it's for, or is
I can't really say. I have to respect.
It's not for CIG though.
Oh, you can see Doggo in the background. It's not for CIG. It is for Star Citizen Becker.
All right. Okay.
All right. I saw him a couple of times, like in the blue section, just the ears popping up.
Oh, yeah,
Batman.
She likes to watch me over the units. But yeah, it is a beautiful desk. But something that we're looking into doing is actually really gluing into place specific branded crates, for example, like the fridges and the PC crates, so we can actually have them on the shelf ready to ship out. So as soon as the order comes in, they can
this is something I should
out.
have gotten for this podcast. Is Greater Gamer got a crate from you guys, and he
Fridge
had an unboxing on stream, and that would have been nice to show off. So maybe he still has a VOD on his Twitch, or maybe he actually uploaded to YouTube.
There is actually one on the JRDF Twitter. If you go to the media in there's a great video of because it's a fridge crate. So the way the fridge crate works is it has the screen in the top, much like the crate in the actual game does, and you tap in a passcode, and then it unlocks and pops the door open for you.
Oh, nice.
So nobody can pinch your beer while you're at work. So it's just Cal's kind of showing off that mechanism. It's just so freaking cool.
Now I want one because it would fit very well in that corner over there, and I could have beer for the podcast, whenever I wanted. Damn it!
But
How
the
much?
desks again, the desks. I think we're going to be looking into designing that picture that just popped up then with the JRDF crate. That terrified me because I thought that picture leaked before CitizenCon. And I panicked. It turns out that CIG had posted it and didn't tell us that they'd posted it. Thanks for the heads up, CIG. But the desks, we're actually looking into potentially designing not necessarily Star Citizen desks, but desks for gamers. Because shipping the actual Star Citizen desks is a little bit costly, because it can't be flat packed. It has to arrive in a crate because of the legs just don't come off. They're cut that shape. The whole desk is 3D carved that shape essentially. But yeah, I'm thinking of designing specific desks for streamers, for gamers, because there's not a huge amount of options out there when it comes to desks, really.
No, there is a couple, and most of them are also the motorized standing desks, sort of thing.
What is that prototype, by the way? I mean, that's come up a couple times now.
So that is actually from Pariverse. So essentially, people who purchased the VIP tickets for Pariverse, they each got a little 600i in the dish. And the dish, if you actually look at the original 600i trailer, that is the dish that kind of opens up with the model inside.
Okay.
That's really cool. So we have a question in chat from Angel Shot, and I apologize if I've said the name wrong.
I can't say his name either. Sorry.
He says,
I can't even read it.
He says, what about HOTAS mounts, like Verpil, etc.? Do they work on the desks you guys are making?
They do, because I actually have I can't say for Verpil mounts because I don't have a set of Verpil mounts, but I do have Monster Tech mounts, and there is enough movement on the Monster Tech mounts that yes, they will fit onto our desks. I would imagine the Verpil ones do as well, because they're not, off the top of my head, I don't know how thick the actual desktop is, but it's fairly, it's not
fairly
much larger
massive.
Than, yeah, it's not
right. And Cal's from JRDF has posted a link of the fridge onto our chat. Sadly, we don't have the ability to show it on stream just yet, but maybe if we remind Dodge at the 1 hour 23 minute mark, maybe he can put it up in the YouTube video.
All you'd have to do is switch the scene, and I can instead of
look at that
the
Sabre.
The Raven is probably one of my favorite ships. Just because of the aesthetics.
Seen the Sabre Raven. The model.
Have you not in game?
No. Oh no, I've seen the real one.
The real one.
Yeah.
That one. That one right there.
Wait, were you not in Los Angeles? In Frankfurt? Were you not in Frankfurt?
No,
I don't think he was.
No, I didn't. I didn't get to go, but like she's currently stuffed away in storage, bubble wrapped up, and hopefully one day we shall.
You see, now that we're talking about the Raven that's up there, I can't really, just put in the fridge thing.
Well, you can change it now. You
here it is. And now back to the Raven.
Okay. All right.
But if you look at the carving there, you can kind of see how much sanding really goes into models like that. Now, the
by
JR
hand
has come
or with power tools?
Both. Both. Like, there is a lot of hand sanding that goes into stuff like that. But JR has come a long, long way, I think, since the Raven. And he actually did some 3D carving recently that needed almost no sanding. It was so incredible.
Like, also, because it's not just layers, like stacked up on top of each other. It also smooths out the shapes as well.
So something I think that JR would really like to do is to have more CNC machines. And it's not necessarily so you can...
That is every man in the world would like to have more CNC machines.
I don't even know what one of those are, but I guess I want one too.
To JR.
Think of it like a 3D printer, but rather, an FDM 3D printer, but rather than it laying down plastic, it's carving out wood. But massive, absolutely massive. But it's not to have more isn't necessarily to be able to cut stuff out faster. It's actually so we could cut more stuff kind of at the same speed, but at a higher quality, if that makes sense. So you actually have less steps. It actually just goes up, so you have more smoothness to the cut.
More granularity. More fidelity.
Right on. That's really cool.
Man. Sorry, seeing the Dragonfly engines.
The aluminium ones, right? Oh, and here's the pool table.
Oh,
and again,
I
don't. When you see the Dragonfly in one piece, you have no idea how many pieces go to building that thing.
Oh man!
Well, we would know if CIG released the time lapse of the build that I recorded at CitizenCon.
Oh, do they have that?
Oh, they do have that. Yeah.
Hashtag Dodge isn't salty at all. But yeah, no, it looks amazing, and I'm not surprised that you had that anecdote earlier about that dude who was like, "This is aluminium. What are you talking about, person who has the shirt of the company?" But yeah, like there were so many people going, "Oh my god, I bet you this cost them like $1 million or something to put down and stuff." Like,
and actually, something. So we actually got trolled. Immediately after CitizenCon, because after CitizenCon there were people saying, "Oh, how much money have CIG spent on this, etc." And it's made out of wood.
It's made out of wood.
It's not made out of
the
metal.
The stuff
so
literally grows on trees.
CIG didn't pay £1 million, contrary to popular belief. But yeah, somebody trolled us, and somebody contacted us. Because they wanted to buy a full-size Dragonfly, which, if anybody out there wants to buy a full-size Dragonfly, we will build you a full-size Dragonfly. That's absolutely fine. But essentially, they immediately posted the screenshots of the emails between us and them onto Reddit. It's just like, that's just, at the end of the day, we can't come out and say how much CIG may or may not have paid for it, because we have to respect the privacy of our client at the end of the day.
Of course.
But it really wasn't the millions of pounds that people were expecting.
That's fair enough. So I guess we're now 1.5 hours into the podcast. I think it's almost time to wind things to a close. But I do have a final question from us. And that is, if you had the final say of JRDF, if it wasn't JRDF, it was MNDF.
Well, we'd be bankrupt if that was the case. Jesus Christ.
And you had all the time and resources and manpower, etc. What would you want JRDF to make? As the next project for a convention, or just what would your dream fabrication be?
I can hear JR and Callie laughing downstairs, so I'm very aware that they're listening right now. So I have to be very careful what I say. I think I ask this question of my chat a lot when I'm streaming, and there are people who say, stop laughing, I can hear you, who say they would like to see, because you have to be realistic, right? We can't build an Idris.
Right.
And I very often see
one-to-one
people,
scale.
Exactly. I very often see people saying they would love to see a full-size Gladius, for example, or a full-size Idris.
Use the Loch Ness as the dry dock.
Yeah, that sounds great. We can make it float.
No, that would be more an 890 jump, just because, you know, it looks like a yacht. It should land on water.
And
it is
don't
wood.
get me wrong, right? I am under no illusion that JR could probably build a full-size Gladius, but CIG, we need longer than 6 weeks, please. But realistically, I don't think people realize how big a Gladius actually is, right? So maybe just the front half with the rear behind curtains or something, but the dream, I think, would be probably a full-size
Gladius
fighter. Like a light fighter, something like that would be
the Gladius is the hero ship of Squadron 42, so it would be apt for it to be that.
That would be pretty awesome, with like an OLED screen inside, so like you can actually play the game and it's on a curved screen.
But I've actually been thinking about, because I'm a huge car nut. I am a very special case in Star Citizen community because I'm also a car nut. A Cyclone. Because I've actually been thinking about how to
So
Go
JR,
on. Go on.
I approached him about this, and he said, "Oh, I can build a cyclone, like an actual working cyclone. No problem."
Yeah. No,
But
because I've actually done some work on a metal tube chassis for a buggy, and making one that would you'd be able to put all the Cyclone panels on top of it is easy.
Let me tell you a little story, right? So we were visited leading up to CitizenCon by Paul Jones and Disco Lando, and they came to check out the Dragonfly, and seeing Disco's face when he saw the Dragonfly for the first time, before it was even painted, like, he just turned into a child. It was so good. But the Cyclone came up in conversation. Now, let me advise you, chat, if you ever meet JR in person, don't mention the Cyclone, because he immediately went on to this tirade rant about the Cyclone wheels to Paul Jones about how
I was
going to
say that everything works except the wheels.
The wheels,
and he's not
round.
And he's not the only one. No, it would be amazing if you could switch them up. So have the hubs on the underside for, you know, high speed runs, and then if you want to go off road, switch them up so you instantly get like a half a meter of ground clearance. Yeah, that would be cool, because they look like they could do it, but actually producing hubless wheels like that, you wouldn't be able to do that. Not with today's technology, especially for a DIY person.
One of JR's friends who lives just up the road from us, that's what he does. He builds 4x4s like crazy 4x4s. So, but maybe after JR's won the lottery, that's something that we could do.
The wheels would still be difficult. You could do the whole scooping wheels thing, you know, how they're segmented and they're supposed to scoop into the ground. But the actual hubless thing, you would need to have center.
JR has actually said the hubless thing actually isn't that difficult.
For a show vehicle, fine, not for something that should behave like a Cyclone behaves.
I'll let you have the conversation with the engineer about that.
Sure.
I mean, it'd be cool to see you drive this thing up into the show floor with people there onto the plinth. That would be spectacular.
I've also had people say grey cat buggy, to which JR just says it's fine. Like, CIG can just
Grey
buy
Cat's
a
fine.
golf cart
Grey
for
Cat
that.
has normal wheels. The Ursa has normal wheels. Cyclone does not have normal wheels.
Yeah,
I mean,
it has normal suspension, has double wishbones with shock absorbers and dampers and everything. That's just fine. But
I imagine they're
Whatever.
going to refactor the Grey Cat. It's like one of the oldest models in the game now. And
Look, we've made a model. They can't. They can't change it. It's just like the frigging what's the unit called? The original unit that JR made. It pops up on the video.
The Grey Cat
GS unit. The GS unit.
Yeah, the GS Grey Cat.
So the wardrobe.
Oh right, yeah.
So the GS
yeah.
unit
Might have it here somewhere.
that is where JRDF came from. Essentially, JR created that for CitizenCon as a fan project. CIG saw it, and it then exploded on Reddit. Then JR gave it to CIG as a gift. And it kind of spiraled from there. But the GS unit, JR built that thing, and then literally weeks later, CIG removed all the GS units from the game. It's like, you can't do this, CIG.
Well, no, they are
GSS,
still in game. They're still in game.
They've re-added them. They did take them away, but they have re-added them now.
They don't work, but they are next to the airlocks at Grimhex. Yes.
Yeah.
I imagine that they'll make a second coming, maybe 3.6, because that's when physicalized inventories are coming in. So
I hope so.
We'll need something to transport things around.
Yeah,
because even all the ships will have a sort of like storage unit that's somehow connected to every other storage unit, like another chest from Minecraft, sort of thing. Which I'm interested to see how it'll work, but next project.
I noticed on the Squadron 42. Oh, go on. Oh,
that was cool.
Stormbreaker.
Yeah, the gift he gave to Brian was amazing.
So it was actually nailed shut rather than screwed shut, and they had previously sent Brian a crowbar as a gift. So he had to use the crowbar.
Oh, that's what it was. Because I don't think I ever noticed or followed up on the continuation of it. I remember the crowbar, but I don't remember what actually followed it.
And Brian was one of the people that received a Grey Cat for Christmas, because Brian is awesome.
Brian is awesome. Yeah, Brian is awesome.
All right, so I guess that we're now to the very end, which is the quick-fire questions. So at the end of every one of these, we've rebranded once again. We're no longer the Frontier feature when we have a third person. It's called Beyond the Frontier, and so we have quick-fire questions for you.
And during the break, I was trying to think of how we should refresh the format, how to bring new life into it, and then realized that in the end it was just the same old format with a new name. So basically yeah. So it has a new name. So when you use shorthand FF, for Fortnite Frontier, you don't confuse it with FF for Frontier feature, because now it's BTF, and
whilst
everything is okay in the world.
Whilst it was a clever name, it was very confusing at the same time. Maybe we were a bit too clever with that.
Sure, but the quickfire questions are: What is your favorite Star Citizen ship?
Oh no. How do I answer this question?
Quickly, because they're quickfire questions.
You have 5 seconds. All right. What is your favorite role in Star Citizen? What do you want to do when the game comes out? 5.
Pirate.
All right.
What's your favorite non-Star Citizen ship? Be it a ship or a spaceship.
Enterprise D.
Oh, wow, it's fast. Banu or Jian? 3, 2.
Jean.
All right.
Sandworm or a space whale?
Space whale, obviously.
Oh,
Picard or Obi-Wan?
Picard.
And where can we find you online?
www.twitch.tv/moist_noodle. I'm also on Twitter @themoistnoodle. I think that's it, actually.
Because there was apparently another Moist Noodle before you?
Yes, actually. Believe it or not, there was.
Yeah.
Yeah, an abandoned Twitch account, but there we go.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, thank you so much for coming on the show, and say hi to JR and Callie for me and for Maya, of course.
Don't worry.
Yes. Hi, JR. Hi. I have been Dariner. Over there has been Meyer, and sandwiched in between moistly has been a noodle.
I love
This
being
has been
sandwiched
beyond.
in between two men.
This has been
Sorry,
beyond the
I
frontier.
behaved up until now. Okay.
This has been beyond the frontier.
We'll see you next time.